What's poppin', Popcorn Perspective? It's your host Jay and AK. Today we're gonna go over the season finale of House of the Dragon. Dude, so we saw these armies marching. We saw the Starks, we saw the Lannisters, we saw House Green. They're all marching. And we also see Daemon and Harrenhal with his entire army there. And that's how it ends.
I mean, it was a fantastic ending if this was like the penultimate episode. It was hype as hell, the music was great, seeing all the armies marching into the Riverlands, perfection. But then it just ends. And we have to wait 2 whole years to get some kind of resolution to what they build up to. And that was the most frustrating part, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. This would have been a decent episode if it came like 2, 3 episodes before. But oh man, this was such a disappointing season finale.
I mean, I love this episode. I think this might be one of my favorite. Maybe between this one and episode 4, the battle between the dragons,
Yeah,
Rook's Rest. Between those two, I think this is one of my favorite episodes of the season. It just should not have been the finale.
this must be a really bad season if this is your second favorite episode.
I mean, I loved episode 2 and 3 as well. I think the first half of the season was so strong, and then the last half of the season was just so forgettable.
Yeah, it was bad. But
Yeah,
let's get into I guess the parts or major parts of this
yeah.
episode.
So let's
So
start off
yeah,
with
Alicent and
Alicent and
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra. Yeah. What did you think about Alicent coming over from King's Landing to Dragonstone to meet with Rhaenyra and basically admitting that she made a big mistake and this war was kind of a mistake?
Yeah, so I like the circles that are all being drawn between those two characters. I like you know how she got cut towards the end of season
Yeah.
two, in the same place as she had cut Rhaenyra. So I
Mm-hmm.
like all these circles coming back. And the first time Rhaenyra went to meet Alicent, she was trying to go there to end the war in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I like all those circles, but I still find Alicent a very hard character to like, just because she had this holier than thou, super virtuous person, and she's done all the same mistakes Rhaenyra has. I get it. Rhaenyra was younger, Alicent was younger, so they're a lot more headstrong. But for me, as an observer, she's a very difficult character to like. But I like the fact that they actually accepted that, where Rhaenyra was like, "You're going to be remembered as a
As a
traitor,
hateful,
yeah,
remorseful queen. Yeah.
who tried to get power and failed." So I do like that they're mentioning this and getting basically everyone on the same page. But for me, it's a little too late. It's like it's done, dude. Like war is happening, people are gonna die.
I mean, it's the same thing when Rhaenyra went to meet Alicent earlier this season. I mean, even if Alicent had said, "No, you're right, I made the mistake," war has already happened. It's already started. Daemon's already rallying the troops. You have a blockade on King Landing. You have what happened with the Riverlands folks already going to war. So I mean, either way, regardless of which side you look at it, war is still going to happen. But I feel like Alicent did give the best way out, basically saying, "Hey, take care. I'm going to tell you exactly where Aegon and the troops are going to. Let's take care of that, and then we're going to open up the gates to King's Landing so you can just come in, and I will sacrifice my son for the safety of my daughter and my third son, Darion, who's still in Hightower." And I'm like, at least she's providing. At least she's thought this through, and you
I,
can't.
I will give you that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think my biggest issue with this episode, with this scene, is it just did not need to happen. I feel like this whole season they've been trying to find something for Allison to do and failing remarkably.
It has been Alicent and Damien. This season has been really bad for them.
And I think the issue is because she's a high both Damon and Allison are high build characters in the books, from my understanding, and I have not read the full Fire and Blood books. I've only read like the first like quarter of it, so I've not even gone to Dance of Dragons, but from my understanding it's Allison's not even a major player in this. It's her sons. It's Rhaenyra's versus the sons, and Allison's kind of like a sideline character. So like, I feel like they're giving her more of an important role, and that's why they don't know what to do with her because she really didn't have much to do once the war started.
Yeah, so we touched on Aegon fleeing, basically, right?
Yes, yes,
So, do you
Aegon is
think that's
fleeing.
going to complicate things because we know that Alicent wants to open the borders for King's Landing, let Rhaenyra
And
come and
she's
take
willing to
over.
sacrifice her son.
Right.
Yeah,
So Rhaenyra will probably take it as you're lying. Like you
exactly.
gave him a tip and he ran away.
And I have a feeling that's what it's going to be. When Daenerys is going to think that Alicent led her into a trap, basically bringing her forces to King's Landing, where they get sandwiched in by the High Tower's forces or whatnot. And I feel like that's going to sour things and be at the point where there's no other course of action but war. And I feel like that's what they've been building up to, but I feel like they built up to that like 10 times this season. That there's no way out.
Absolutely. This season has been such a drag. Anyways, we'll get onto that a little further.
But like you
But
mentioned though, Aegon fleeing with Larys Clubfoot strong. What did you think about that?
yeah, it, it's not. If you told me at the beginning of the season, like they were going to be the people who are going to be together towards the end of the season, I probably wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
But Laris is playing a long game, and I'm not really sure where they're going with the characters, honestly. Because
Well, I
once you're
mean,
out of power, what's to say you can come back?
but they made a good point. You're going to be Aegon the survivor, Aegon the true leader. Like what you're gonna do is show the horrible side of Rhaenyra. When Rhaenyra goes to war and starts killing small folks, your brother's already looked as a villain. So then you're gonna come in when both of their forces are like damaged and destroyed and rally these small folks to you. Which I mean, it's a smart idea, but I mean, I feel like Aegon, even after his humbling fall and burning and all that, I feel like he still has an ego. He wants to be the realm's delight. He wants everything that Rhaenyra has had prior to, because Rhaenyra
Yeah,
was once upon a time the realm's delight. So I feel like he's still chasing that fantasy that he'll never get. Let's be real.
I know. I do think he has a good heart in him. He just wants to be loved, and that leads
Yeah,
him to do dumb shit.
100%, 100%. He needs him. I mean, both him and his brother Aemon. It's obvious that they want a mom and a father figure, but they're too stubborn to ask for it, and then Alicent's too absent to provide it. So,
So we haven't touched on one of the siblings, which is Helena. She had a
yes, yes,
really interesting reveal. What did you think of that?
yeah. Haleena is definitely becoming one of my favorite characters. It seems like she may be like a green seer, or like she shares some kind of connection to Alice Rivers. So it's interesting. She's a very interesting character.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued to see how they do this. She could have like they mentioned that George R. R. Martin, his entire universe is so different and unbuilt. Like the magic, you don't actually know where the magic is coming from. So I
Yes,
feel
yeah.
like they can go in so many different directions with her, and I'm really interested to see maybe season three, season four. They should have brought this up earlier, man. They should have
Well, they
shown us
have. They
this.
have. Helena all last season she was talking about a bigger dragon eating a small dragon, and then we saw that at the end when Luke dies by Aegon, and then we also saw that she said the rats are spying on us, hinting to the rat catchers killing her son. All show long she's been dropping hints by her riddles and her rhymes, but
I get it, but your season has been so slow. Most of the characters have not had enough development or not enough progression on the
yes,
story.
yeah,
You need to have someone where you're like, oh, dang, this is a really interesting character. Let's see what they do next episode.
that's yeah,
But
I would agree
every
with
time I get
that.
excited for things, I'm like, dude, it's two
Yeah.
fucking years, man. It's
No, no,
like, come
I'll
on.
I'll give you that because Helena, as interesting as cool as a character she is, she's been so underdeveloped and underutilized. Sh-
Yeah. They want to do all this development and new character addition right at the end, and I don't understand why. It
he-
it to me it was a
even
really bad
though
finale.
even though I'm an Alicent apologist and a Greens apologist, here you go, HBO, whoever was writing the show, showrunner, I came up with the showrunner, but this is what you need to do. Ryan Condal, is that his name? Yeah, but this is what you need to do. Let's cut back on the Alicent drama. We don't care about her walking around in the forest for a whole episode. And let's focus on Haleena. Let's focus on Aemon. Let's focus more on their sibling rivalry. And that way we can build up who Haleena really is. And show us freaking Daemon. Like, you keep mentioning Daemon, and all we saw was this blue dragon at when the armies were marching. We
Yeah,
have
and
a fourth like kid from Alicent who's only been referenced like 3 times. Like,
dude, I keep forgetting she has a fourth kid.
yeah, I mean, he was never mentioned in the first season, so I thought he was going to be cut out. And then this season, they referenced him like episode 1, then like episode 4, then again this episode. And I'm just like, you can reference him all you want. You got to show me that he's a thing. Like,
Helena has such a low bar to clear. Like her bar is Bran. They better
yeah,
nail this dang character.
literally, yeah, yeah. But I mean, talking about Helena, we do get to see. I guess I'm hoping this is the final Daemon's vision, where Daemon and Alice
Yeah.
Rivers walks to the tree, in the God's word, and he touches the tree while the sap is like a blood red sap. That's how it's described in the books. Is dripping on his hand, and he gets um a dream, and I hated this so much. It literally just talks about Aegon's dream, Aegon's dream, Aegon's dream. We understand. We know the prince who was promised. We saw all that in the main show, and we hated it in the main show. We don't care about how Game of Thrones ends. We hate that. Stop forcing it
I
down our
agree.
throats.
If we didn't have a Game of Thrones and they showed this, that would have been really cool.
Oh,
Like
I would
if
be
we
like,
took
holy
this,
yeah.
yeah, if we took this as a vacuum, I think it's really cool. But we know how Game of Thrones ends,
Yeah, they
so we
showed
hated
like
it.
that burnt dragon lady with 3 dragons crawling on her. I'm like, oh my god, who is that? Or like
Yeah.
they
It
showed the
was nice to
three-eyed
see Danny
raven.
again though.
It was good, always good to see
Yeah.
Danny, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, you can't tell me that Danny is the prince you was promised, and then Danny ends up burning King's Landing and being a villain, and
Dude,
it's like,
yeah, don't get me started on that.
I mean, it's either just rewrite all of season 7 and 8 and make it good, and then you can reference it, or just act like there's
Don't
a whole
reference
sub.
it.
Yeah, just don't
Yeah.
reference it. There's no need to reference it. I mean, like I said, I like everything that's going on with like Helena and all that, and Helena spoils something. And I'm not sure
Oh
this is an
yes, she
actual
does.
spoiler or not, but he mentions that Aemon is gonna die in the God's Word, which is not the God's Word, the God's Eye, which is interesting. And I'm not sure that's a spoiler, or is she predicting something? Is he gonna change that future? Is that gonna be like something that he's gonna like try his best to fight against? I wonder where that's going, because that's a very interesting thing to drop.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Just to touch on Damon again. So Damon sees this vision, and that's the first time it finally clicks. And he's like, okay, this is a lot bigger than me.
Hmm.
Dude, this could have been done so many episodes
It could have been
earlier.
done within 2 episodes. And I wonder, because we do see the backside of Danny. We don't ever see her face. We just see like a silver haired
Hmm.
female with dragons on her, all burnt. And then the next scene he sees is when they were on the Iron Throne. So I wonder, is he thinking that Rhaenyra's is going to is the dream, like the prince who was promised? Is that what he's thinking? And that's why he immediately swears fealty, because if he sees Danny's face, he might think that Rhaenyra has nothing to do with the Prince who was promised prophecy, so he still might have that ego to him. So I wonder,
Maybe, but I think it made it pretty clear because it first showed Rhaenyra on the throne, and then it showed him the visions following. So my
was it
assumption
okay?
is
Okay.
once she's in power, hypothetically, um,
Hmm.
it's that lineage that will eventually
Is that
get to
is
that.
a
Yeah,
domino effect? Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, cool vision. It's cool to see the 3 Eye Raven and all that. It brought me back to like the good days of like season 1 and 2 with
Hmm.
Bran, but I just felt like it was unnecessary.
Yeah. And I guess just progressing a little further. So we are still in Harrenhal, and Queen Rhaenyra comes to see what Daemon is working on. So
Hmm.
he's built up a huge army, which pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, after last week's episode, him basically being humbled, he got the whole Riverlands to basically, and the whole Riverlands, like all the armies are like all parked in Harrenhal and just waiting
yeah.
for command.
So yeah, he finally bends the knee and he's like, "You're my queen."
That was a brilliant scene. And
Yes.
then like when he rallies the troops, he's like,
Oh,
and then like a kneel for your queen, kneel like it's kind of like a nice
yeah,
rallying cry, and then it just
yeah,
ends. And I was like, can we get to the battle? Like you're hyping it up so much. Like
exactly. It's all teasing up for season three. Season three will be better than season two, just because season two has been so dang boring.
now I wonder though, is this going to be like one of those like movies or shows where like we're going to come back after watching season three and season four? We're going to come back it's like, damn, season two set up a lot and did a good job, or is it going to be like, let's just skip season two altogether. Let's end season one and go jump to season three. I wonder how it's gonna like how well will season two hold up.
Yeah, in my opinion, not that well. But I don't
I
know. We'll
I
see.
I I don't know. It depends. It really depends on how season three is structured. But
Yeah.
um we do actually go to Essos, which was fun because I like
Oh, yeah, the
Essos and it has a lot
Triarchy.
of yeah, and they have a
Yeah.
lot of cool cultures there. So yeah, we go to Essos with Tywin Lannister, where he's trying to get the Triarchy to basically join him to destroy the blockade. What do you think about that?
This would have been good a few episodes before,
Hmm. Agreed.
not for this
I
episode.
I freaking love Captain Lohar. She had me cracking up, and she was a lot of she was a levity that the show needed. Because if you think about the original show Game of Thrones, you had characters like Tyrion Lannister, or you had characters like I would say like Joffrey, even though Joffrey was like a demented, like horrible person, he was entertaining to watch. Like he was funny because how incompetent he was. We really don't have that like funny character, like or like a Tormund Giantsbane character. Like,
Hmm.
so I feel like Captain Lohar, she brought a lot of levity to the scenes she was in. She was more jovial, funny, and very laid back. And if she was introduced like episode 4 or 5, I think, and then like they slowly trickled her throughout the show and her and Thailand try to
Absolutely.
convince them, it would have been
They
a lot
shoehorned
better.
her right at the end, and that pissed me off. So I agree she's a nice character to have. I probably would have enjoyed seeing her earlier, but the character just pissed me off every time she was on screen. I was like, get to the dang point.
Yeah,
It's like,
because like
let's
she
go.
was, because she and Thailand had such a funny like opposite like connection. Like Thailand was very unconfident, unsure, and just like
Yeah,
did not like where he was at. Meanwhile, she was like feisty, funny, and just
yeah.
competitive, and they had like a pretty cool back and forth. And I was like, man, she was introduced earlier this season. They kind of built up who the Triarchy was, and then they finally set sail like last. Let's say they set sail episode 7.
Yeah.
Like that would have been like, we know there's a ticking time bomb there somewhere. We know the Triarchy is about to attack, and it just unfortunately didn't go anywhere yet.
Yep, totally agreed. So I guess just running off this episode. Anything we have left off?
I mean, I think those were like the four biggest,
Yeah.
things that happened this episode. I
We had a
mean,
few minor ones, right? Like Sheep Stealer and
and
Reyna.
yeah, I mean,
That should have
it
been done
was
so many episodes earlier, man. That
yeah,
was
because
not meant for this episode.
the whole Reina plot line, I feel like was just like slowly trailing along, and the whole time I was like, get to the point. We know she wants a dragon. We know she hates the fact that she's been on a babysitting
Yeah.
job.
It's like
Like,
you've developed this enough. Like just
and like
come on,
every
man.
episode, she's just sitting there playing with like a small dragon, watching the kids. Like, I hate my life. I hate my life. And I'm just like, we get it. Now let's
We
do
hate
some.
your life too.
And they finally like we don't even see what happens. We don't even see her riding or like taming sheep stealer. She just in a face vision sees sheep stealer, and the scene ends. And I'm just like, really? We built this up. I want to at least give her like an amazing momentous like ride off with sheep stealer or something. No, just and I was like,
Oh,
come
we had
on.
a pretty big scene with Adam, right? Or Alan of Home, with
Oh, that was a
his father.
brilliant. Yeah,
That
so
monologue was really good.
yeah, so
Again,
Corliss
should have been done
basically
earlier.
yeah. So Cordless basically finally admits fault and admits that that is his kid, and Alan is like, "Cool, you're finally claiming me because you have no other heirs
Yeah,
left." That's like, I don't care. I'm gonna make it in the world the way I've done it from day one. Since you were never there for me, I'm gonna do it the way I've always done it. And I'm like, that was so good, but
I know, man.
a lot of
So
great scenes that could have been done in previous episodes.
yeah, so we see um the sea snake finally joining the blockade. Dude, they've been building on his dang boat all season. Pissed me off every scene with it. Anyways, so they finally join
Set
the
sail.
blockade, and we also see the who is it? The Captain Lohar, right? Her entire fleet coming to try and break up the blockade.
Blockade as well.
That should have been a battle, and that should have been the finale. Like
Yeah,
that
they
would have
had the
been an
battle
epic
of
finale.
the battle of the blockade or something, like a big ship battle to end up the
Yeah,
season, and then just left it and left us in the dark. Like, oh shit, who
yeah.
won?
Like we
Like,
don't
how?
know who's alive, who's not
Yeah,
alive. Like just leave it there,
and that's one thing I've
dude. That
always
would have been
wanted Game of
awesome.
Thrones to do. Game of Thrones, unfortunately, the main series never had a actual like ship war, and I've been wanting that ever since like they introduced the Greyjoys. I'm like, come on, I want like a ship battle. So I'm
Yeah,
really
man.
hoping we get one next season, but I'm like, yeah,
No,
I'm
we
with you on
definitely
that.
will. Like it's all leading up to it, but
Unless they
why
do.
not pay it off? Just give us that dang finale that we deserved,
Why do I
sitting through
have
the
a
shit
feeling,
season.
and I would hate this if they do this. I would officially say the show sucks. Is if they open up next episode with just a bunch of broken ships and just say the battle happened off
Oh
screen,
my god, dude.
because you know that's something they could pull. They would pull that.
Okay, if they do that, that's the episode we're gonna be like, that's it for us.
That was the line drawn in the
Not
sand.
watching it.
No.
Can't do that. No,
If they,
ma'am.
yeah, but yeah. So I mean, we have the ships setting sail from both sides. We have
Yeah.
all the armies, the Starks, the Lannister, the High Towers, all marching forward. Um,
Oh,
we actually,
Otto
yeah,
Hightower,
Otto
right?
Hightower, yeah,
He's in prison somewhere.
which is,
He deserves it.
I mean, yeah, he definitely deserves it. But I was like, Otto, Mister, I can talk I can talk my way out of anything. How did you get yourself in prison, my man? And I'm like, we could have, like, that would have been a great subplot instead of watching
Dude,
Alicent walk
oh
to the
my
forest
god.
for a full episode. Like, sorry, I'm never gonna like not hate on that episode. Last week's episode where Alicent just walking around for like 30 minutes. I hate that so much. But yeah, he's in prison apparently.
Yeah.
One highlight I will say is even same highlight I had in season 7 and 8 for Game of Thrones. Raman Deshwani, the composer, he is killing with the music, and I love the final montage
Yeah.
with the armies marching in the. He had all the houses motif playing, overlapping each other when when the camera zoomed onto one army. Like he had the Reigns of Castamere, he had the Winterfell theme, and I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm like, man, you
He's
give me
done a
hype.
really good job.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, man, you give me hyped, and I know nothing's gonna happen. I'm like, damn it.
Every time Rhaenyra's tune comes in, her
Yes,
oh, that's so
it's
good.
so powerful, and it's just
Such a
it
nice
wants
one.
like, yeah, it's he does such a
It's
good
like a
job with the
power, but
music.
then a softness to it, and it's so good.
Well, that's who she is. She's a very
Yeah,
soft, but she's a very powerful person who like
yeah.
is very like manipulative. Not manipulative, but very strategic. I,
She is.
yeah, but um, I mean, that's basically all that happened this episode, and basically all that happened this season. Let's be real. So,
Yeah. Season
yeah,
2, episode 8. Just catch that, and you know everything that's gone on with this dang season.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's still go ahead since this, now the season's done. We've gotten the full effect of every character for the most part in their stories. What is your favorite character? Who was your favorite character of the season?
Okay, so yeah, this guy gets a dragon. I really liked Adam. Adam of Hull. Like he was a lot more feistier than Alan, and
Hmm.
you understood why, right? Like
Oh yeah,
he went through the same shit Alan went through, but Alan was very stoic. I really think they should have worked on his character development over the season.
Alan or Adams?
Both, but Alan especially, because there seems to be a lot more gravity towards Alan's character.
Yeah, but no,
Um,
I agree. Adam of
there's,
Hull,
yeah, Adam is fun. I like him.
he was fun. I liked him a lot,
Yeah,
and he just has such a joy. just to be able to ride a dragon. He just seems like he just loves the idea of being there. And then we
Yeah.
have the other dragon rider, Sir Simon Strong.
Oh
Well, he's
yeah.
not a sir, but
No, no, no,
she did say she'll
no.
knight him. Is he?
Simon Strong isn't Simon Strong at Harrenhal?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, yes, yes. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I'm thinking of
It's
the
okay.
other.
It's okay. Talking about Simon Strong, I love that dude.
He was
I
so
root for him
sassy.
every scene.
He was so sassy the whole time.
Your
Oh, he was
king,
so funny.
Regent.
And like last week's episode when Daemon was being bullied, he's like, "Oh dear," and I was like,
And
"Oh, he was."
this episode when he got a
He
whiff of
snitches.
treason, he snitched
He,
on you.
he immediately snitched it like, "Hey, Rhaenyra's, by the way, your husband is not a good person." Like,
I
I want to
really
follow.
like Simon Strong.
If Simon Strong was in the modern world, I would follow him on Twitter, and I would like everything he'd said on
Oh,
Twitter.
dude, same.
But what was the other? Ah, I'm losing his name now. The Smithy. Um,
I
the
know
other
who you're
Dragon
talking
Seed
about,
writer. I can't think of his
but
name now. I'm
I
blanking on
definitely
his
know
name.
who you're talking about.
He was one of my favorite characters of the season.
Okay. Yeah, he was really interesting. Another character who's coming into her
Oh, was
own
it
is
Hugh? Hugh, right? Hugh Hammer.
Hugh
Yeah,
Hugh Hammer. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Hugh Hammer. He
Huge
was
Hammer.
huge Hammer.
He was a porn star.
Oh man, poor man. Oh no, 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 poor wife. No,
Oh
he was such a
dear.
cool character, and he
Yeah,
was such
he
a
was.
no, but
And he
I
got
know
one of the biggest dragons.
Mr. Huge Hammer with the huge dragon.
Oh no.
Oh no, I
I did not think of that. Anyways.
no. God damn it, George. But
Cool. So no, as I was saying, a character who's really coming to her own is Haleena.
yes, she was a great
Very
character.
boring character, very quirky, very weird. So I didn't put too much attention to her. This episode, she was awesome.
I
Cannot
want
wait
you
to
to
see
go
more of
back
her.
in season 1 and season 2 and watch just her scenes. I know she's had very
No, no,
little
no, I know
scenes, but
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's a very interesting character. I'm glad they finally gave her something to do instead of just
that's
like
what I'm
being that
saying.
background. But
Yeah,
they need to build her up a little bit more because she is such a cool, like, interesting character that just needs maybe like 10 more minutes of like screen time and like development, and
yeah,
she'll probably be like a big fan favorite. But I
agreed.
know who you're going to say is your next favorite character. I think you've been talking about him all season long. But who's your next favorite character?
Dude, it's the dog, man. The Ratcatcher's dog. I
The
love
good
every
boy.
scene with him.
Every scene, I was like, man, I just want to take this guy home and give him a bath, and feed
I
him.
know.
I was like, my
Yeah.
man, like the rat catcher kicks you, and you're still gonna cry near his
No,
hanging
I know. It's
post. I'm like, such
he's
a
the
good boy.
loyalist character in this entire series.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Like,
I would
I
also
think him
say,
and Viserys would have like just
oh
they would
yeah,
have vibed.
that's
I think
all
they would have
Viserys needed.
enjoyed each
Viserys did
other.
not need the crown. All he needed was a dog, and like
Yeah.
that's all he needed was a dog. He didn't need Alicent or Rhaenyra. He just or Daemon and all that drama. He just needed a dog to pet and
Yeah.
just like take on walks. But I would say my next favorite characters, and I'm gonna pluralize that characters is Jace and Bela.
Oh yeah. We need to see a lot
Now
more of them though.
yeah, and Bela is very meticulous. She's very smart, and she understands politics a lot more than Jace does. But Jace understands the diplomacy, and he understands
Mhm.
war a little bit more. It looks like he's been hanging out with Daemon a little bit, so he has more like a war mindset. So he's very interesting, and he understands the idea of the dragon seeds is going to illegitimize his claim because he's also a bastard who's claiming to
Right.
be an heir. So his inner dialogue and drama is amazing to watch. And then Bela is just such a good person. She's just
She
such a
is.
nice, yeah, she's such an amazing character. So I think those two characters are finally coming into their own. They're doing what they did with Jason Bela. They should be doing with Haleena as well.
Agreed. And we need to see more of
Yeah,
Bela, especially. We're getting
yeah,
enough screen time with Jace.
but not
Bela, I
as
think she gets
much.
forgotten a few
Yeah.
times. I know
But
you
who?
like this character, right? The witch.
Yeah, I love Alice Rivers. She's such a interesting, unique character, and especially after the way they ended this episode with her basically looking like to have some kind of connection with Helena. I
Yeah,
want to know more about her story. She seems very interesting and she's very knowing. So I want to know where is that going to go, like, or how is that going to play out. So I'm very interested in that character as well.
yeah. Uh, I need to see more of her to see if I like her or don't like her.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like this will be pretty easy to break down. But what is your least favorite parts of the season?
Oh man,
And you cannot
there's a
say
lot.
all the
There's a
above.
lot. Yeah. Damon's dreams needed to be condensed.
Yeah,
They were interesting-ish, but a lot of times they went nowhere, and I didn't feel that he actually learned anything in those dreams. But we
until last week's
eventually got
episode.
there. Yeah, we
Yeah,
eventually got there. It took
I
all
agree.
season. That's what frustrated me so
It should
much.
have been like a 2 episode issue and then him come to his own on the third episode versus 6 episodes of it. And I was like,
Come
because if you watch our videos when we first started reviewing it earlier this season, I was like, oh, I love the Damon's dreams. It's interesting. It's adding a lot of
on.
lore and depth to the character. And by this, or as the season progressed, I was like, okay, let's wrap this up. I was one of your
I
few
know, man.
supporters in the beginning. Now I'm like, no, let's end this. Let's move on with Damon. Let's give him something to do versus being scared in his sleep. But I would say
I know, man.
another part I hated about the season was Allison's storyline. As someone who loved Allison in season 1 and appreciated what they did with the character, and obviously Olivia Cook, I don't mind seeing more of her, but it went nowhere. I'm gonna be honest, but it went nowhere.
Yeah, she dragged.
Yeah,
I don't have
I
much to
brought
add to that.
I brought it up like 5 times already this episode. But if I need to see another episode of her taking a bath in the forest and walking around, I'm gonna yell because that is some of the most boringest shit ever, and leads and it adds to nothing.
Yeah, I think that leads to the next point, right?
Yeah,
The story didn't progress as it should have. A lot
I
of
mean they
setup. You're right. So yeah, maybe season three, all that setup is going to get paid off. But there was no actual narrative drive within the season, and that was so frustrating.
and I think that's the also going to lead into I think my next point is like Renee just had no real indication or like lack of fight. Like she just never wanted to do anything, and everyone around her was saying like, "Hey, we gotta strike first." And it's like, "Oh, but now look what happened in Rook's West, and look what's happened in this other dock, and look what happened here." I'm like, "Wait, you gotta do something! Like, stop complaining about everything that the Greens are doing, and do something." And the whole season, she was just playing with the idea. I don't want to attack. I don't want to fight. I don't want to attack. I want to fight. And then
Yeah, that was
complained that
very
all of her, yeah.
frustrating.
And I was like, okay, let's get on with it. Finally, last episode, she did progress a lot when she finally had like the whole dragon seeds and the block and the food, like finally sending food via the blockade and all that. She
Hmm.
finally started doing something, but it just took them 6 episodes for her to finally get a backbone.
Man, I know, man. It This season dragged. It was a
Yeah.
drag. What would you grade it this season out of 10?
Yeah, I mean, so originally I did say around 7, 7.5, but I think after talking here just now and just hashing out the season as a
Venting
whole,
it,
venting it out, yeah, I would probably say like 6.5. I think it had some great
6.5.
acting.
Yeah.
The dialogue was brilliant. Visuals and CGI, like the dragon shots, the casual shots, beautiful. The music was amazing, but the pacing, the episode lengths, the lack of progress, and just some of the weird edits and just drags, like the dragging of
Hmm.
the characters and all that would just if they added more depth to what each character wanted, like a motivation for each character, it might have been a lot better. But I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of characters just had no motivation, just kind of was wandering around.
Yeah, I agree. So I rated it like a 4.5 out of 10. And I'm really harsh on it just because. So I felt season one, they time skipped so much. They tried to progress it so quickly. I thought, oh shit, okay, that means season two, we're getting the good stuff. No, there was just more setup
and
for season three. So
I'm and
I had
I
a
know
lot
you and
riding on
I,
it, and it was
yeah,
boring.
because I know you and I were discussing season one prior to season two starting, and I know you did not like season one all that much, and I loved
Mhm.
season one. So as somebody who was an apologist for season one, who actually loved it, I gave season one like a 9 out of 10. I think it was such a fun, interesting season with some great acting, some great characters. And each of the characters' motivations, even with the time jumps, you knew what they wanted at the end of their like the goals. But then you see the same characters in season two, and I feel like all that motivation, all that progression the characters went through in season one was just forgotten.
Yeah,
And I think that was my biggest issue with season two. A lack of
they needed
motivation.
to deliver more, and they just didn't.
Yeah, they had a lot of highlights. I'm not gonna say season two like had no major moments. Like Blood and
Yeah, they
Cheese
did.
was great. You know, the
Yeah,
Rook's Arrest fight was brilliant, but it was so far and so in between that it just the season just felt very lackluster.
yeah. All right, dude. That's all my thoughts. How about you?
Yeah, before we leave it here, did you by any chance see the teaser for the next show that they're coming out with in the Game of Thrones universe? The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. They had like a 30-second snippet that came out last night as well for next year. It's coming out next year,
Yeah,
next
I
spring.
didn't. I was kind of
Okay.
upset with this entire season, so I was like, I'm kind of done with that. I need to give myself some time. Does it look good?
I don't think you'll like it because it is a very slow. So it's a kids. It's like a George Martin wrote like a kids style novel, kind of like the esque like Hobbit. It's a short story
Okay,
novella about a prince, not a prince, a knight named Dunk the Tall and his squire, who's Aegon, who's king, Prince Aegon. Not the Aegon from this show, but it's like a in between this show and Game of Thrones. But it's a very slow show, just basically wandering the landscape of Westeros. Basically, it is.
nice. Well,
I like the books, but you
we'll
probably won't like the
see.
show. Alrighty then, but I think that's all I have from me. What about you?
Yep, that's all. Peace.
No. Alright, see you guys.